Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/new music industry. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player.
You're listening to the New Music Industry with David Andrew Weeb.
So today I'm chatting with co-founders of Ursa Music, Chad Royce and Chris Jones. How are you today?
Hey, how's it going, David?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm well. I really appreciate you joining me today for another conversation about the music industry, which, as we all know, is exciting. Now,
Absolutely.
Yeah, most streaming sites to this point have been consumer friendly while being less friendly to artists. There's sort of an upside to that in the sense that streaming platforms can optimize customer experience. But the main downside, of course, is that artists haven't really had much of a presence in terms of profile on these platforms, and fans aren't served by that either. So on Ursa, however, you've given artists the opportunity to create their own profiles, including music, photos, videos, tour dates, bios, and more. So talk about that.
Sure. I mean, our goal here, both Chad and I are artists. Chad, professional drummer, producer, and I myself was a singer-songwriter. That's kind of where the inspiration behind this came. Our goal here was just to provide this really artist-centric, platform where artists can connect to their music and create context. We just felt like it was very important to give them that control, that ability to speak directly to their audience, to provide, a bunch of creative ways of expressing themselves on the daily. And so we developed this platform with the artist in mind, as I said, giving them multiple feature sets in order to express themselves more clearly for fans to have a deeper experience altogether. And in light of, as you were pointing out earlier, the streaming services, some of the costs around it, obviously the money there isn't as great as CD sales or album sales once were. But starting to move in the right direction by giving artists the ability to maintain a constant connection with their audience, by giving them the control they need over their profiles. We're starting to move more into that artist first space. That's our philosophy. By solving problems for artists, we create a deeper experience for fans. And again, I think that is kind of the direction of things, this consolidation and engagement. And this is really a nice first step for us. And we have a lot of other things that we're going to roll out in the future.
Mm. Yeah, as singer-songwriter and producer, I guess you would both have kind of an inside view into what things have been like to this point in streaming and the shift that's happened here into the digital realm that we're now in. What kind of things were you seeing as that transition was happening?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we noticed, ever since music became digitized, it's sort of lost all that additional content that users used to, people used to dig into, whether it was, if you had a CD booklet, you could check out liner notes or credits or, the lyrics, the additional artwork that's in there, and you just get that sort of deeper connection with that artist and that release. Mm-hmm. And so when music became digitized, it just became about, playlists and MP3s, and, you sort of lost all of that additional artist context and content. One of the things for me that was really important was credits. Being a producer, being a drummer, I did have a profile on the sort of the standard all music situation where I think I had something like 3 profiles, all of which had credits, some of which were completely wrong, some of which were mine, but were just not exactly right. Like it said, maybe vocal engineer instead of, producer or something like that. And it just was frustrating. It just didn't seem like there was a place that I could manage my discography accurately. So one of the things that Chris and I talked about doing and what we've implemented in the app is this sort of double verified crediting system where artists can invite people to be credited on releases, and industry professionals can request to be credited on releases.
Hmm.
In both cases, the other person has to agree that the credit is accurate before it goes live. So it's just a really great way to build a discography as a professional, and for artists to be able to kind of add that additional context for their fans. You know, it's a great way for fans to discover new music. If you like the production on, you know, on a release, you can actually literally tap that producer's name in the app, and it'll take you to that producer's profile. Everyone can have a profile on Ursa. So producers, mixers, engineers, instrumentalists, everyone can have a profile. And when you get credited, you'll have your discography right there. So if a fan discovers a producer they like, they can go to the producer's discography button and, you know, check out all of the stuff that producer's done and kind of discover new music that way. So
it segues nicely into my next question. You know, I've been in conversation with a few different sources about this whole thing of credits. And with the growth of digital media, of course, like you mentioned, liner notes have kind of gone the way of the dinosaur. But for many people, that was the joy of buying an album, bringing it home, listening to it, and reading the lyrics, credits, and maybe even the hidden messages artists managed to sneak in there. And your platform includes linkable credits. So I'd love it if you'd share what that means and why it matters.
Well, essentially, we have an interesting music player whereby if you tap a song, you're going to be able to swipe through this player into multiple pieces of content. So you press play, and the first screen you swipe over to will be credits. You can actually tap on that producer's profile, and that will take you to that producer's profile page, whereby you can tap their credits button and then look at all of the things they've done. So it's really a matter of just deep dive discovery. When we say linkable, we just mean you can actually click on a person's name, tap into their profile, and view all of their photos, videos, whatever they have. If they're a producer, you're going to be able to see the discography. You're going to be able to see what other works they've produced, etc. So that's what we mean by linkable, just the ability to actually click into a profile to be able to view that said profile.
Yeah, something that I continuously hear is this whole thing of, oh, I really like this guitarist. I'd like to go check out everything that he's ever done and be able to click on that name and then go and see all the recordings that he's actually participated in. So I'm guessing that's kind of one of the benefits of that.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. So literally, I mean, I think in some ways the credits part of it is almost, it's a more sort of powerful way to discover music than the algorithms tend to be. I think, you know, I use algorithms and I would say, you know, maybe half the time it's okay. But, you know, I would say I skip about half the songs because, you know, if I put in, all right, I want to base a playlist off of this album, you know, you get some weird stuff in there to me that just doesn't belong.
Yep.
Whereas I feel like with credits, you know, if you, like you said, if you like that guitar player, chances are you'll like, you know, a lot of the other work that he's done.
Absolutely. And, you know, I use Spotify all day long. So I do sometimes come across music that I like, but it's definitely, certainly not as efficient as it could be. Just like you said, it's not like amazing as a music discovery platform. It works, but it could be better.
Works. Yeah. Right. Agreed.
And what other features should artists know about? What are you most proud of with Ursa?
I mean, that's a good question. Well, one area that we really think is a differentiator, we have an interesting thing where artists can attach artwork to a song. So what this means, if they put out a new single and they wanted to share that recording experience from the studio or some creative art related to that particular single, they can actually attach that photograph or image, whatever they want to attach there, to the song itself, creating a story around the song that's very interesting. And again, getting into that music player, you can swipe from the credit screen, you move over another screen, and it's going to display that artwork. So it's going to create an interesting visual story around that particular song or album that we're hoping to really expand upon. It's a new feature. We don't see that out in the world. And we think it's going to add to that sort of liner notes feel as well. But this is sort of a visual representation of that. That's one feature that we think is exciting and that artists will benefit from and be very creative with. We think fans will really enjoy that. as again, just deeper insight into, the artist, the recording experience, what an artist goes through in terms of creating that song, anything, any kind of content that they can engage with is really, we feel important, and it's going to be fun. And additionally, just expressive. I'm sure Chad probably has his own idea of something he might want to highlight, but that would be one feature that I really enjoy.
No, and I totally agree. And liner notes. So just to go one step further, so the first screen you land on when you tap play is the cover art screen. So we have the cover art that's automatically pulled in, and then to Chris's point, artists can add additional artwork beyond that cover art. So if there's other artwork that was made for that CD, you could add it there. You could also just take a selfie in the studio, or you could, take pictures from the studio experience and put it in there. Whatever you want, really, as an artist, to add that context. And our feeling is that, instead of having, as a user, when you discover that piece of music, that'll give you a chance to kind of go deeper and get to know that artist's, sort of full 360-degree kind of vibe of who they are, rather than having to bounce out and go to Instagram, and bounce out and go to Facebook or Twitter or wherever. Sort of it has that potential of taking a fan, like you said, if you discover something on Spotify, I do it all the time. I discover something, on a playlist, let's say, and I've added to a playlist and I listen to it, 10 or 20 times. I might like the song, but I might not know anything about that artist. I probably won't know when they're playing. I won't know, when they're coming to town, or what. I might not know anything about them. I just like the song. And so for me, I'm just a fan of the song. I'm not really a fan of the artist. So we're sort of trying to create this experience where when you discover something, you can really become a fan of the artist. And that's where it kicks into actually providing additional revenue streams for that artist that go beyond just the streaming. That's where you become a fan of that artist, and you want to see them play. You want to see them, when are they coming to, where I live? When am I going to be able to see them? Where can I buy the merch? What can I, there's so much to an artist that is beyond just the streaming, and that's what we kind of want to provide. There's also an additional events screen in the player, so you'll be able to see when that artist is playing. And then a liner notes screen, which is where artists can kind of talk about the inspiration behind the song, or the story of the process of recording it, whatever they want to do to kind of add context. And I've found that to be really interesting already, just in the app itself. When artists adding liner notes, I find like reading that makes me want to tap play on the song. Everything appears on the feed of the artist you follow. So when I see liner notes on the feed and I read it, there's a play button right there on the feed. I can tap play and kind of dive right into the track.
One of the things we like to say is we like to turn passive listeners into active listeners. As you probably know, when you're at Spotify, or users are at, another streaming service of their choice, it is something where you press play and you kind of stick the phone in your pocket and you kind of do your thing. On Ursa, obviously you can do that, but what we really like to foster is that engagement factor, that, going down the rabbit hole kind of feeling. To Chad's point, if you like the song, you may have more questions after that. What was the song about? What's the inspiration behind it? Where can I see these guys play? I really like them. Where can I buy their stuff? The list goes on, and it's interesting. I'd love to see the video. I'd love to get a visual representation of who they are. That's the interesting thing with music. It's, being expressed in so many different modes. And there's obviously a lot of things to cover. So we really like to create an active space where fans can go deeper, look around, get a feel for who the artist they're listening to is. And for artists, it just gives them a very consolidated space where they can create that content on the daily and introduce fans to new sides of themselves. It's really kind of the philosophy of how we're trying to approach it.
Yeah, one of the things you mentioned that is pretty funny is just this whole thing of most platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, or otherwise, aren't interested in sending people away from their platform so that people can go and discover whatever it is they want to, whether it's a video or the artist's website or their bio or what have you. I like how you've chosen to really make that part of your platform, incorporate it, and make it much more convenient for people to just delve in. That's great.
Yeah, yeah. It just seemed like a wasted opportunity. If you have listeners in one space enjoying your music, why not have the ability to give them more in that space where they're actually pressing play? It just seems like strike while the iron's hot, you know? You've got these active listeners there.
And then on the other end of it, you have, platforms like Instagram where artists are really forced to kind of, do the whole link in the bio thing where, as a fan, if you see maybe an artist post something, hey, I have, new release out today or whatever, with a picture, link in bio. And, as a user, you have to go to their profile, you have to, you tap the link in the bio, it opens a page where you have to choose whether you want to listen on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever, and you choose that, and then it opens your web browser and you have to log in, or sometimes, it takes you to the wrong area, wrong page, you have to try again. It's just very clunky, and it doesn't foster that sort of direct connection that we're trying to achieve. In Ursa, when, a post appears on the feed, it has that play button. They don't have to, there's no link in the bio necessary. So literally an artist can post a piece of artwork and say, hey, my new release is out today. And, you can just tap play and get going.
Yeah, and this is just by way of observation, and it's sort of absurd, sort of funny that the technology's been there to do this. It's just that It hasn't really been a priority to this point, in a way, right?
Right. I mean, Daniel Ek founded, Spotify as a sort of legal version of Napster. His whole approach was, all right, I just want to make it legal, give users access to all the music in the world and make it legal. He never really sort of looked at it as any other. I think, obviously they've added a whole bunch of features since then, Spotify for artists and whatnot, but still it's very limited. It's really just an audio platform. It's a listening platform. It's a lean back, sort of tap play and put your phone away. It's not built for engagement.
You philosophically have to build a platform, I think, the way we've done it, engineer it so it's an artist-centric platform. I mean, the way we differentiate, unless we have this active content, our goal is to just really have active content from artists. That's going to be the differentiating factor for us. And our philosophy from the beginning as musicians has been able to try and provide an experience for artists that's going to give them the flexibility and the control and the power that we feel like is important to manage your own career. And for fans, the byproduct of that is just a deeper, more thorough and complete experience. So our vantage point, that philosophy, it's a win-win. Start with the artist first, give them the stuff they need to express themselves on the daily, understand their need sets, what the pain points are. Once we solve those, you're going to create a deeper, more vast experience for the fan.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm guessing there won't be any easy answers to this question. I'm not looking for numbers necessarily, but I'm sure plenty of artists are going to wonder, what is the monetization potential for artists on Ursa? And will there be other opportunities for them to boost their revenue?
Yeah, definitely. So we're, the business model right now is it's $9.99 for a music subscription, which gives you access to music and lyrics. But artists and fans, for that matter, can use the platform for free for as long as they want, with all of the other features. As soon as they tap play on a song, we give them a 30-day free trial. And then after that, if they want to listen to music or view lyrics, it's $9.99 a month. And then, Chris, you want to talk a little bit about some of the additional revenue streams that we're going to be incorporating?
Yeah, can do. So, over time, we see things like VIP artist experiences whereby artists can have an exclusive content section of their profile where they're offering their fans, content that they withhold, whether it be specific photographs or specific merch offers, the sort of variation of things that artists have at their disposal to offer fans as an additional peek inside. Things of that nature. We're going to be selling merch that will be solely an artist revenue stream, but we're going to facilitate it. With regards to analytics, we're going to give artists, all of the analytics they need. That won't necessarily be a revenue stream, but an additional feature for artists to have, and that'll be a little further down the line. Ticket sales.
live streaming.
Live streaming, thank you. Live streaming is another area that we want to, really make a highlight on the platform. So our feeling around live streaming is we kind of want to legitimize the experience a little bit more and elevate it. I know there's a lot of platforms out there like Periscope where they offer certain people the ability to create, or they just get online and they sort of do whatever they're going to do. On Ursa, we want to create a live streaming experience that's akin to like an on-demand thing where an artist sets up a show. They can basically sell a ticket to their followers for a price of their choosing. And those fans buy the ticket and they sort of activate when that showtime comes. And we have, as Chad pointed out earlier, we have event systems here and event calendars for fans where all of this information and material will be organized for them. Another revenue stream that we think will be important. And also just, again, in the spirit of consolidation, no need to go anywhere else. Our event system is pretty robust. People can look at an event. They can tap attending or going. Not dissimilar to Facebook, but again, we're just music oriented. And then if they wanted to purchase a ticket, it would go on their calendar. They could, share it with their friends, tell everybody they're going to this particular, or they've gotten access to this particular show. And when the show comes, they can view it. So again, I think artists in that spirit sort of elevates the experience of live streaming and legitimizes in a way that's more akin to like, I've got a show tonight at 8 at Bowery Ballroom. Here's the ticket. Boom, buy the ticket. In the live streaming sense, we want artists to create a really awesome experience for their fans. So, we've got a show Saturday night. We're going to do this. We're going to set up the lights. We've got the sound, whatever they had. Or if it's a little intimate acoustic session in their in their living room, whatever it might be, as long as they're, putting their best, we think this is going to elevate that experience and create a nice revenue stream for them as well. So, another thing about who we are as a platform, we're really trying to touch all these various points that are important for artists. So as we roll out and expand, we're going to be able to see what's working for artists and where we need to improve, as well as to bring new additional revenue streams, into the fold in the future. So it'll be a constant, journey of discovery for us in terms of how artists are actually using this. But we really, coming from this space again of just trying to provide and solve problems for artists, it's going to create more revenue streams and flexibility for them as we move forward.
I think another thing that artists are probably going to have a question around is this whole thing of distribution. Now, digital distribution has gotten easier than ever. People could just go to a service like CD Baby or Ditto Music and take advantage of that. But in addition to that, if they want their music up on Bandcamp or SoundCloud or their own website, then they have to upload all their info to another platform. So I guess the question is Ursa Music going to be a place they can distribute to? They can easily upload their info to, or can they leverage some of the other content they've already created?
Yeah, we've given that question quite a lot of thought. There are no concrete plans at this time to do anything like that, but we're certainly, our goal is to listen to the artists that we have, and if that's a feature that they want, then of course we will try to do that. There's lots of different ways to kind of go about it. It gets a little complicated when you're sort of essentially what you're doing is a direct deal with the artists themselves. So you're paying distributors, and then you're also paying all these direct deals with artists. It just requires quite a lot of thought on how you want to do that. Certainly there's the SoundCloud model of sort of doing self uploads to look at, and I think we're open to all of that. It's not something that we're planning on doing right away or anything, but definitely open-minded.
Yeah, the way we're approaching it, we're essentially getting the licenses to stream. So an artist would connect to their catalog. Let's say they distribute through TuneCore. We would be essentially a service that their music would be delivered to. So we verify them, connect them to their music, and they can go about creating context around it. We feel like that's the sort of more modern approach. This, obviously with SoundCloud in the beginning, they were just uploading, then they had issues with licensing. We wanted to steer clear of that and make sure we were doing everything, legitimately and legally from the start. So getting licenses in the beginning and then allowing artists to connect to that music that they provided to DistroKid or TuneCore or CD Baby or whomever, we felt like that would be the correct approach right now. And to Chad's point, we're not averse to looking at a SoundCloud-oriented model later on where artists could potentially directly upload, but it's something we'll have to give more thought to. We understand the need for it, and certainly it could be a really nice feature. But we want to start in this place where, again, we legitimize the experience. We're not stepping on any legal toes, and we feel like this is a cooler, more modern way of doing things.
I think although some artists may be in denial, it looks like streaming will be here for a while to come. And I think there may be more opportunities to disrupt, kind of as you've done. But I'm going to ask you to project yourself into the future a bit and ask, do you believe in the staying power of streaming? And do you think there will be something else that comes along to replace it?
Go for it, Chris.
The future of music, I mean, for me, again, our sort of bet is that consolidation and engagement are the future of music. We're obviously a company that's trying to take on a lot. You would consider us being 5 or 6 companies folded into one, providing several different experiences around the music. And music is unique in that fashion. But you can look at other companies that are out there that, maybe started like Amazon. They were just an online retailer, but then they've got music now and they've got all kinds of other things. So they're trying to consolidate experiences. We're doing this in the music space. We think that's important. In terms of streaming's staying power, I think it probably will, given that a fan's appetite now for all of the music, they can absorb at their fingertips any moment. I don't know that they're going to just part with that. I think potentially the revenue streams between, I think maybe the middleman in some areas may be cut out. Maybe somewhere along the line, labels become less necessary. I don't know. Maybe it's artists are doing more direct deals with streaming services. Maybe, or the money that they're receiving is improved in some way. Obviously, there's a lot of people who have different kinds of models around that. But I do think streaming is probably here to stay. I mean, it's always tough to project that far out, but from simply a fan experience, I mean, I know what a revelation it was to be able to have all the music I wanted to listen to at my fingertips. I mean, you just can explore and explore and explore, and it's a wonderful thing. Now, the second piece of that is to say, well, how has it affected artists? And now what can we do to compensate them in a way that's fair? And a lot of this does rely or sort of assume responsibility around the labels. They need to do the right thing for artists. They're obviously getting equity from these streaming services, and how they're distributing that, I don't know. So basically, we just have to take a look. I think the idea is a good one. I think we just have to really say, are we making sure that music creators are getting compensated fairly? And if not, how can we improve that situation? But in terms of a sort of platform, an idea, it's a fun idea. I think fans love it so much. I don't see it going anywhere.
To this day, I think there are some artists that still limit the amount of music people can stream, and others just outright avoid digital distribution, as funny as that might sound to us. And so what do you see as being the greatest opportunity for artists with regards to streaming? Is there anything they're missing?
I mean, to me, it's always about, it's kind of leveraging that moment where someone might discover you or your song, and leveraging that moment of, okay, I'm a fan of the song. How can I leverage this fan to, spend money on a ticket or buy some merch or, buy a ticket to a live stream? I think that's really comes down to, for us, that's the heart of it. Like taking a casual listener and converting them into a fan that spends money on you as an artist. I think that's something that's really missing out there. And because everything is just so separate, you get your tickets over here, you get your merch over there, the music lives over here, you engage with artists, on Instagram. It's just all so disconnected, and we're trying to kind of bring it all together on the same platform so that people can have a more sort of not only a more sort of complete experience, but a more connected experience with that artist in all the ways that that artist, has to offer.
Mm.
Interestingly, when Tool is a band I'm a big fan of, and obviously they've been in the press lately. They're releasing their latest album after 10 years plus.
Yeah.
A long time, and they were always a band that wanted to stay outside of the system. Generally they've always tried to do things their own way, which I've always respected. And it was a little bit, I wasn't surprised that they finally got involved in streaming, but I was surprised maybe at the timing of it. I thought they would have taken some time to sell hard copy before they actually put the music to streaming, because I was going to be one of those guys who's like, yeah, I'll pay $20 for that vinyl, or that's whatever you can give me, I'm going to pay it. So you will see bands out there who have that name recognition, who can sort of do that. They can window that whole windowing scenario. They know their fan base is going to be excited to get whatever products, so they can say, well, we're going to sell hard copy, we're going to give a single for a while, we're going to do whatever we can do. But ultimately, I think you're going to have to participate, put your music into the streaming realm, and then I think, to Chad's point, you just want to, it's tough to say. I understand the idea of leveraging that song to create sort of a monetary experience around it. I think that's really important. Obviously, that's what we're doing. But the song itself is worth something. I think in time, if we're still talking about the future, I think the monetization around it will adjust, and it'll get more favorable to artists. But essentially, it's for artists to try and win fans, try and touring is still, the moneymaker, merch still the moneymaker. So I think that experience is sort of the hub, that foundation. And then, they do their best with streaming. I know it's not a perfect situation right now. I think we're all looking to improve that for them. I think we as a company philosophically are trying to do that. So a stream is important. It's something, as Chad said, they want to leverage to a deeper experience that may cause a fan to become an active fan, to go to their show, check out and buy some merch, check out a live stream, whatever the case may be. I think that's where we are.
Just like me, my audience is made up of people who have their own small to medium-sized businesses in the music industry, or are treating their artistic career as a business. So we're always looking for insights that cause breakthrough and help people overcome their mental blocks. So I'd like to ask a few questions in that vein. And the first is, what is the biggest challenge you've overcome as an entrepreneur?
Chad, feel free to start if you like.
I mean, I'd say just in the music space in general, I think the hardest part is getting the licenses. And as a streaming service, obviously, you have to have the licenses to put music up there and charge money for it. And, there's a whole process to that. We are going through a white label streaming service to help us with that. And, we may or may not do some direct deals with distributors. In some cases, we will just kind of piggyback on the deals that our white label service has. But in general, for us, I think that's been a challenge, in just kind of keeping up with changes as they happen. There's just so much that goes on in the music business, and so for any given, from one year to the next, the landscape can change so much, just in terms of being able to license content and what that cost, the advance might be that they're looking for. Things, just the landscape changes and shifts so quickly.
Yeah.
So that's definitely been a challenge for us.
For me, I think what we're trying to do is, as it's been quoted to us, as an audacious thing. I mean, we're getting into music streaming among, giants. So, you have to get beyond that initial, like, are you serious? You're going to do that? And we're like, yeah, why not? I think philosophically, I have a very strong perspective on why we feel this is a better avenue to go, why this is a better experience for artists and fans. So I think, getting beyond those doubters, obviously you're going to have them. And obviously, I think as an entrepreneur, as a human being, you just want to prove people wrong. I think any entrepreneur, you just have to have a certain amount of delusion and a certain amount of confidence, and a mixture of those two things. I'm not quite sure what the ratios are, but I think it's important. I think obviously believing in yourself and being hopeful, but I do think walking into positioning ourselves in a space that is obviously we've got heavy competitors that we're not necessarily looking to compete with directly. We're sort of trying, in being this artist-centric space, we're trying to create an entirely new experience around streaming that hasn't really been done before. So I think the sort of the space, the sort of the grandiosity of it, I don't know. I mean, it definitely takes some motivation every day. You got to get up and motivate yourself to continue to walk down a path that is going to be littered with landmines and moments where you're just going to like, really, we're doing this, and things get in your way. You've got to consistently try to be consistent. You have to always tell yourself, that's not going to stop me. You've got to continue to push yourself beyond what other people's limitations of you are. I think that's really crucial, because you're always going to find naysayers. You're going to tell people that you can't do it. You're also just going to find legitimate obstacles that you're going to have to go around. So you got to be creative and trying to find ways to do that too. And, if you've got an attitude like, I'm going to fight until my last breath, then you might get there. But it does require that, because I'll tell you what, it can get rough.
I love that. That is awesome. Listeners should go back and rewind and listen to that a few times. Absolutely.
It's a mantra every morning. Just wake up and like, oh my God, where am I?
Yeah. And then on the other side of that, what's the greatest victory you've experienced as an entrepreneur?
I mean, to me, it was just the most exciting moment was, we worked on Ursa for years before we released it to anyone. Chris sort of pointed out that we really are, with the amount of features that we've introduced, we really are more like 4 or 5 different sort of platforms. We have the music streaming part of it with playlisting and all that kind of stuff. But there's also that sort of visual element with a feed. So you've sort of got that Instagram, Facebook type, feed situation. We have a full-on calendar, which is very similar to sort of a song kick or a Bands in Town or something. We have, the whole crediting system is brand new, never been done before, and required a lot of work. And then even, just all of the admin messages that are associated with all that stuff is almost like a whole platform unto itself. So just getting all of that together into a space that is pretty elegant and easy to use. And in terms of the feedback we've gotten, I mean, it's just been amazing. Just being able to release it into the wild and see, real artists using it after all of these years of kind of putting it together. So we released it finally earlier this year into a sort of test beta. We went to South by Southwest, and we talked to hundreds of artists, and literally everybody we talked to, every single artist that came by our booth signed up for the private beta. We were able to get, over 350 artists just there at South by Southwest. That just felt like an incredible accomplishment. Just to get that instant feedback where people would take a look at it and go, oh my God, I want to get on this thing. This is amazing. And literally everybody just freaked out when they saw it. So that was really rewarding, because we've been working for so long kind of designing this thing, and then to actually get real feedback right there on the spot was incredible.
Yeah, I would echo Chad's thoughts. I mean, for me, it's maybe not one big victory. It's a series of small victories, and each of those small victories is probably an artist saying, wow, I really like this. This works for me. Getting that kind of feedback after years of internalization, of building, of whatever hurdles you have to overcome from a development standpoint, that the blood, sweat, and tears, as they say, getting that kind of feedback in the wild, in the real world, is a really gratifying feeling. And it, or doing a podcast like this, it's from going, from your bedroom just noodling around on an idea to having something that's there, people working on it, a common goal, a common philosophy, artists enjoying it, teamwork that goes around it with our team, and the feeling that we're getting from the fans and artists. It's a series of small victories. I mean, you can sort of look at sports analogies all day. I'm always sort of this guy who says, you're going to cross some goal line, you're going to feel good about that for a while, and then you realize you got 100 yards down the line, another goal line. But enjoy that victory, that moment there, that milestone, and then look towards the next one. So a series of those, as we've been finding. And I think for me, it is, as Chad said, it surrounds the artist's appreciation of what we've accomplished.
Are there any books or other resources that have helped you on your journey?
I've read quite a few. I liked the Lean Startup quite a bit. Let's see. I'm reading currently a book that was recommended by a consultant of ours. It's called Creativity Inc. By Ed Catmull. It's about the founding of Pixar, essentially. And just, it's kind of an incredible story about, how he went from being a sort of very early stage engineer for computer animation to realizing, basically putting out Toy Story as Pixar's first release, and that sort of 20-year journey that it took to kind of pull all of that together, from not only the technical side, but realizing that, not only do you need all this great, computer animation, tools, you also need a great story and the human part of it. I've been really loving that one.
Yeah, for me, it's just any self-help book I can get my hands on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've just been kind of, focusing on maybe just how to keep the mind centered and balanced where you're actually motivated every day. That's kind of the path I've been going down, which can be fruitful.
Sure. Yeah, I've read my fair share of personal development and self-help books too. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. On top of the every period, all the trades of the day. I mean, gosh, there's so many different, sets of trades you're reading, just research and what's the latest, but all good stuff. Media research does a lot of good stuff. So definitely.
Well, I've really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much for your time and generosity, Chris, Chad. Is there anything else I should have asked?
No, I think I really appreciate the time. This is I enjoyed the conversation and thank you for having us.
Yeah, I would just add, we are we're still in closed beta. So any artists or fans that are out there listening and are interested in being a part of that, you can go to our website, www.ursamusic.com, and you can fill out a fan waiting list application or an artist application, and we'll send you an invite to join the beta. And then we should be going public where anyone can come and sign up relatively soon. We're shooting for around October 1st.
And also we're at Ursa Music on Instagram and Twitter, so come find us.
Perfect. Thanks for sharing that, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, David. Appreciate it.
All right.
You're welcome.
Have you heard about the Music Entrepreneur Code yet? If you haven't, you will, because I'm going to keep talking about it. So you can go to musicentrepreneurhq.com/code to learn more about the Music Entrepreneur Code and to get on the waiting list so you know exactly when it becomes available. Again, you can go to musicentrepreneurhq.com/code to learn more. Thank you for listening. Music in this episode was brought to you by Brian Young. Wherever you're listening to this right now, please consider leaving a 5-star review and comment to help us get the word out about the podcast.